Hi, this is David, founder of Pure Juicer. I'm at work late tonight and I find I just feel way better when I drink juice. And before I go home, I thought I'd make a little juice. I just finished a video showing how to make ginger shots and not clog the grid. And then I just ground up a whole bunch of produce, and I'd like to show another technique that I use with the Pure. In making these videos, what I'd like to do is to convey what I've learned from juicing on a machine that I've designed so that everybody else gets the benefit of what it is that I've learned. So I've just finished juicing a large bowl of pulp, and there was a fair amount of liquid in it, and I took the liquid and I strained the free juice, as I like to call it, and got it out, and now I have this very consolidated pulp, and I'm going to put it on a press cloth. But the thing that I want to do, and I'm not entirely sure if this is going to work, is I'm going to pour this back through the running feed tube. And the reason that I'm going to do this is there's always a certain amount of pulp that stays in the cutter, in the feed tube, and you always see it when you wash the machine. And I'm thinking, well, if I take this free juice and I pour it through the machine, then I should get all of the pulp in the feed tube out, and then I can strain it and proceed to juice. So let's do it. So and there it is. You see the pulp is falling through. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do one more transfer. And I've got my strainer. I've got my juice vessel. So let's pour this through. This is great. This was a great idea and it really worked. So now I'm going to sieve the pulp out, once again get the free juice, but we've just gotten all the waste pulp out of the feed tube. In fact, let's take a quick look at this, because this should actually be pretty impressive. Okay, so take the grid tray out, and something's going to always fall out when we do this, yes. I'm sorry, I'm blocking with my juice vessel. So I've removed the feed tube, and there's really not much in the feed tube. So let's put it back on. Let's grab a knife. This is an important technique that I want everybody to know. So we have our grid tray, and I'm going to move this out of the way. Have our grid tray, and this is a great way to clean a grid tray. Of course, be careful for your fingers, but you actually have a lot of control while you're doing this. And we're cleaning the grid actually by just cutting the pulp. Okay, so there we go. Grid is clean enough to rinse. We have the fiber that came from the grid, and now we have the wet pulp that we sieved. We have this other pulp that came from inside the feed tube that's sort of the extra ounce of juice that we just got. So we'll clean that out. We'll put it on top. Put this here. Strainer goes to the sink because we're done with it. And we will start, and let's clean up. It's always nice to keep your work area clean. We'll get the grid and the grid tray out of the way. We will do a quick clean of the grid tray slot. You know, I actually just prefer to juice with these in place. It doesn't really make any difference, but it's what I do. So I will continue to. I'm gonna put my knife away because I don't need it. And I had said we want about 1.5 cups of pulp. This is 1.5 cups of pulp. In fact, we'll start measuring so that you can see that when you fold a pulp pack, it's nice to make them nice and tight. Always end with the folds down. Transfer to the press. And let us begin. So press goes up at full speed. As it starts to juice, we slow it down. Now, we have a fair amount of pulp here. There's probably enough for 6 or 7 press cloths. So I'm going to go over to where I have some press cloths stored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 here, 1 there. That makes 6. And let's do 1.5 cups of pulp, which is to this line. And we will keep pressing. So we would do our tic-tac-toe fold. I'm working to get it a little tighter as I start the first part of the fold. And now the second part of the fold. I'm not concerned if I push out some juice because I'm working in a cookie tray and I know I'm going to capture it all. So I transfer to the press, I keep everything centered, I go up at full speed, I slow down as it makes contact, and then I increase pressure. One of the really wonderful things of the Pure is you can ignore the press while the machine is working. So I'm getting my 1.5 cups of pulp. There it is. We're going to work on a nice, tight press cloth. I see I'm going to have a little extra, so I fold it under. See how I fold it under? I'm going to fold again. I'm making a little mess of this. Here, because you want to make sure you get it all. Otherwise, you can have an accident. So once again, we have a nice tight pulp pack with everything contained. We go into the press. I really like to press by putting one in on top of another. I'm gonna make the press slow down. And the reason I like to is it's very difficult to control more than one pulp pack at a time. So by doing one and pressing and then doing the next, it provides the operator a lot of control, and you can actually do, well, we'll see how many we can get in. We should be able to get in 5, possibly 6 pulp packs. Okay, I'm not quite centered, so I'm going to use the press cloth to recenter my pulp. I'm going to bring it up so that I'm tight. I'm going to roll it over so I'm tight. Folds down, press down. So I got room for, we'll see. I have room. Where is my English? Where are my sentences? Slow the press down. You know, making these videos, you watch yourself on video, it's really interesting. You hear your sentence structure, you hear the way you talk, and I'm aware I hurry a little bit, or what my mannerisms are, and yeah, and you work to get better at it. So I'm learning to make videos and to get better at it. So thank you for doing this with me. So we're folding another press cloth. We'll go down. So this is great. We've got 6 cups of juice. We've got, I believe, 4 pulp packs that we've put in. We're getting near the top of what we can do. So, but we got this. Normally I would be wearing latex gloves, but at this time it's not possible to find latex gloves at the store, and I'm out. So forgive me for doing this barehanded. I think it's more important that we all juice together than it is to worry about some details. Okay, we have so much juice and still so much pulp to go that I only have one choice. I'm gonna have some juice. So this is carrot, beet, cucumber, celery, apple, plus it has ginger, lemon, lime, jalapeno, garlic. Here we go. I haven't made a juice I don't like, really. This is delicious. Okay, back to pressing. Another 1.5 cups. And at this point, I'm eyeing what's left in the bowl and going, okay, I got one more after this. So, I used to tell people that I like to roll fatties and make the biggest one pulp pack I could, but really 1.5 cups is perfect. And the reason is, if you use more than 1.5 cups, the pulp packs will flatten out and get bigger. And the bigger they get, the harder it is to keep the juice in the juice tray. So 1.5 cups is perfect. Plus, if the pulp packs press against the wall of the juice tray, they'll bulge it out and bend it a little bit, which is not ideal. So 1.5 cups is my new number. Some people say 1 cup. I used to say 1.75 cups or 2 cups. But I'm a guy who always pushes the limit, and I am now pulling back from the limit and saying the perfect amount is 1.5 cups. So this is why we have a cookie sheet. While this is pressing, I'm going to do a quick rinse. I make these videos at Pure Juicer, and my sink is right behind me. As soon as I get a new sink, I'll show it to you. Said we needed one more press cloth for this. So now we'll just knock it out. Let's put all this in the sink. Let's do a little housekeeping. And our final pulp pack. Here we go. It's actually under 1.5 cups. There it is. Well, we got this far, so let's put one more in. but I better drink a little more juice because this is pretty full. So another thing about stacking up your pulp packs, people say, well, is that good for the machine? Or is that bad for the machine? And actually, this is really good for the machine. We're doing a couple of different things. By repeatedly pressing these lower ones, we're maximizing our extraction. And because the piston is not fully extended as it would be if it only had one press cloth in it, it's better supported. So from a durability standpoint, that's good for the machine. The machine can operate just fine at full extension, but it's more stable and stronger when it's not at full extension. So if you don't have to run it at full extension, why bother? So we now have 2 quarts of juice. Let's pour off. I'm going to freeze this juice, so I'm not going to pour it all the way to the very top. And let's talk about frozen juice. So on Sunday, for the first time, I froze juice. And I wondered, well, how will it taste? And the juice that we made tasted just as good when it was defrosted as it did when it was fresh. And Michael Donaldson, who's a doctor of food sciences, has done enzyme studies, and he proved that juice stored for 4 weeks frozen retained 90% of the enzymes of the fresh juice. So if you need to freeze, if you want to make a big batch of juice and freeze it, it works. Let me get another mason jar lid. Here we go. So I've got 2 quarts of juice to freeze, which I'll probably drink tomorrow, but I think I'd rather freeze it and thaw one tomorrow and then thaw one the next day, rather than storing it in the fridge where I know that the taste will change if I just leave it in the fridge. So that gets us to how long does juice stay fresh for, and really that's a discussion for another day, but quickly, carrots and apples will store for 3 days. Green juice will store for about a day. Green juice mixed with carrots and apples and similar will last for 2 days. So there you go, 1, 2, or 3 days. Okay, and now, since we should, let's take a look at our beautiful pucks. So this is my, as I said, carrot, apple, cucumber, celery, beet, ginger, jalapeno, lemon, lime, and I'm undoubtedly forgetting something, but it really doesn't matter. It's all good, and the juice is delicious, and the pulp is pretty close to bone dry because the pure press operates at about 5,400 pounds or 160 psi. Which is higher than any juicer on the market, higher than any similar 2-stage cold press juicer, and 2.5 times what commercial juicers run at. Commercial juicers run at around 65 psi. So, so here's what's left of our produce. My goats will eat this because it's not all carrot. They are really fussy, but I think Meggie and Lightning and Electron will probably eat most of this. So let me have one more sip of juice. And let me say that the point of this video was to pour liquid to pour juice back through the feed tube, to pre-clean the feed tube, and to get that approximately 1 ounce of pulp that's inside the feed tube out so we could juice it. And the idea worked perfectly, and I'll talk about it in further videos. Thank you so much.